study,
and play come together on a Windows 11 PC.
And for a limited time, college students get
The best of both worlds.
Get the Unreal College Deal. Everything you need to study and play with select Windows 11 PCs. Eligible students get a year of Microsoft 365 Premium and a year of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with a custom color Xbox wireless controller. Learn more at windows.com/student offer. While supplies last. Ends June 30th. Terms at aka.ms/collegepc.
This episode is brought to you by Viore. For Father's Day, give him something built for wherever the day takes him. Viore's performance joggers, breathable polos, and travel-ready layers are made to move. From workouts to downtime, on the clock or off, these are the everyday staples he'll wear on repeat. Get 20% off your first order at Viore.com/Father's Day. Exclusions apply. See site for details.
We all know the voice. It's the sound of silk and smoke, a voice that could plead for social justice in one breath and redefine intimacy in the next. But before he was the Prince of Motown, he was a terrified boy living in a house that felt more like a pressurized steamer trunk than a home. Today, we're going back to the Simple City projects of Washington, D.C. to look at the fracture lines that created a legend.
You have one new message. Translating. Disney and Pixar's Hoppers is now available on Disney+.
You could say that again.
Critics are calling it Pixar's funniest movie ever and a wildly entertaining ride. Blizzard Potato. It's certified fresh and verified hot.
Now we party.
This is incredible!
Wow, I am clearing the rest of the day.
Disney and Pixar's Hoppers now available on Disney+. Rated PG.
This episode is brought to you by Perfect Bistro Cat Food. Cats, this ad is for you. Has your human ever called you picky, persnickety, choosy? If so, Perfect Bistro Cat Food is for you. With ingredients like wild-caught tuna and pasture-raised lamb, tantalizing textures, and delectable flavors that meet even the most discerning cat standards. You're not picky, you're just perfectionists. Perfect Bistro, mealtime perfection for every cat. Have your human visit perfectbistro.com.
You are now listening to The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay on Spotify. A podcast aimed to uncover and share the stories behind heinous and insane acts that have been overlooked or overshadowed by mainstream media, getting justice for the voices that can't speak.
What's up, y'all? It's your girl Kay, and I am the host of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. A podcast designed to focus on crimes committed in the Black community that you don't hear about in mainstream media, giving a voice to those victims that have otherwise been silenced. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast with me, Kay, the Texas girl in a Georgia world, baby. Ladies, how y'all feel? Fellas, y'all all right? It is Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, and I am feeling, I'm starting to feel a little bit like my old self. A couple of things kind of annoyed me here and there this week, but I'm not going to harp on it. I'm just going to woo-saw and, just let go and let God focus on this episode. Now, like I said, y'all know we're in the middle of the Celebrities Who We're Going to Soon series. I told y'all I was going to give y'all 4 episodes for the month of April, but in all actuality, you're going to get a little bit more than that. So far we've covered Merlin Santana, we've covered Fred Lane Jr., we've covered PNB Rock, and today I got another one for y'all, And on top of that, I told y'all I was giving y'all some bonus episodes. So in the next couple of days, you're going to get another one and another one and another one. Who knows? I might put them all in the same day. I don't know, but we're going to find out, okay? So, I don't want to waste too much time on the small chit-chat. Now, what I will say is I hope y'all got y'all drinks and y'all snacks ready. I know I got my big-ass bucket of popcorn with some Pellegrino water. Y'all know I'm still on my whole, no liquor, no soda, no caffeine kick. Oh, I'm ready to fight somebody. Is it May 31st yet? Because I really, really want a soda. Damn! But I'm pushing through. So Pellegrino is going to have to taste like soda for a while. I mean, it is sparkling water, But I'm tough. I can do it. Now, with that being said, let's get into it. hop on into the time machine and buckle up, baby, because we taking a ride back to Los Angeles, California in 1984. Now, 1984 was a time when Apple introduced the first Macintosh computer with the famous 1984 Super Bowl commercial. Tina Turner was telling everybody what's love got to do with it. The Cosby Show debuted on NBC, becoming a massive hit, introducing a powerful and strong Black family. Amen. Prince made doves cry, and several people's lives were lost at the deadly epidemic that we know as AIDS. But in Los Angeles, California, a soulful voice was taken by the one who gave him life. Y'all ready to get into it? Y'all know what time it is. Let's get it. This week's case involves Marvin Gaye Jr., the victim, and the infamous murderer of the week, Marvin Gaye Sr. Marvin Gaye Jr. was born April 2nd, 1939 in Washington, D.C. to Alberta and Marvin Gaye Sr. And he came from a large family of siblings. He had a brother, Frankie Gaye, and then he had two sisters, Jean and Zeola. Now, Zeola went by Sweetie. He also had two half-brothers, Michael Cooper, who his mother had from a prior relationship, and then Antoine Carey Gaye, who came from an affair that his father had on his mother. Damn shame. Boy, niggas been hoeing since the beginning of time, clearly. Ugh. But, Marvin and Alberta, they raised all of their kids together. Ooh, child, you got to be a special type of woman. You got to be a strong type of woman to have your husband's side baby in the house. And that if that ain't fences, whoo, child, ain't no way. You would have to go. But I guess that's how it was back then. Now, to understand Marvin, you have to understand the man who gave him his name, and eventually, the man who would take his life. Now, Marvin Gaye Sr. was a minister in the house of God. He was a strict Pentecostal man. But Marvin Sr. was also a man of walking contradictions. He was a flamboyant dresser who often wore his wife's clothing behind closed doors. Yes, y'all, homie was a cross-dresser. And it wasn't as secret as he thought, because a lot of people kind of started to see what Marvin was doing. And because he was, becoming this embarrassment, the only thing he could think of was to take his anger and his frustration out on his family, specifically Marvin Jr. Like, you are literally walking around here talking about you're a man of God and praise the Lord and hallelujah, but you dressing up in your wife's clothes and people starting to find out about it. And now you embarrassed because people talking cold cash shit about you, as they should. And because you can't fight none of them, you're going to pick on somebody that's younger and less defensive and try to torture your own kid. The fuck? But Marvin and his brothers and sisters were raised under this whole checklist of rules. Like, any infraction that they did resulted in BTA. And y'all know what BTA is. Belt to ass. And Marvin Sr. had a lot of demons that he was dealing with. He was a frustrated little motherfucker. He struggled to keep a steady job, leaving the family in poverty. At the same time, he's demanding the respect of a king. Ain't that some shit? Been there, done that. Bum ass niggas that want to be treated like royalty and they out here acting like peasants. Get the fuck on somewhere. Like, preaching is not gonna pay the bills. Well, in today's time, it probably could, depending on where you was a preacher. Because some of these preachers, Lord have mercy, they could pay the bills, pay my bills, pay their bills, pay the whole neighborhood bills, much money as they be making. But, we talking about years ago. We talking about back in the 60s. There's no way that he could take care of his family. So he literally had them living in the projects, literally had them living in poverty, literally had them struggling because he couldn't keep a job. But, there was some solace in the home. I guess there was some kind of balance, just a little bit, because while Marvin Sr. was the storm, his mother, Alberta, was his rainbow. Like, Marvin's mother was what they called the domestic glue. Now, she worked as a domestic servant, and that's what helped keep food on the table. And she often, basically kind of shielded the kids from their father's volatile moods. Now, Marvin was a mama's boy in every aspect of the word. She was the first person to tell him that he had a gift. And, throughout his life, she remained like the only person he felt he could really trust. And because of that, Marvin felt like he had to protect her, even from his own father. And, he wasn't the only one that felt like that. His younger brother, Frankie, he wanted to protect their mother too. I guess that's just like a thing with boys. Like they naturally want to protect their mothers and their sisters, and they gonna fuck a nigga up over them. But then they turn around and dog out some other mama or some other chick. Like it's crazy to me because it's like y'all know y'all wouldn't let nobody do that shit to your mama or your sister, but then you fuck around and be just the dirtiest dog. But I digress. We not ready for that conversation. Anywho, so all of his sisters and brothers kind of like had this tight knit bond, and they really leaned on each other for survival. And they shared the trauma of their father's trials that he put them on, like which were these random, just grueling interrogations that they had to undergo to prove their holiness. When I was doing the research for the episode and I was reading about like the things that he used to make them do to prove that they were holy and righteous, it kind of reminded me of that scene in that movie Antoine Fisher when they were all in the church with Madeira and they had to pretend to catch the Holy Ghost so that they could, avoid getting a whooping because she went to some little small storefront church. Like, ugh. But I mean, that's basically how it was for Marvin and his siblings. But Marvin had one thing going for him that kept him safe: his voice. Not his voice in speaking, but singing. Child Marvin loved music. For him, music wasn't just a hobby, it was an exit strategy. Like a lot of people, he started singing in the church. And by the time he was 4 years old, he was playing the piano and singing in the choir. And, like, when he sang, he felt the safest. His father couldn't find a reason to punish him or whoop him because he was doing the Lord's work. But as he got older, Marvin started looking at other types of music outside of the church. He started singing what his father liked to call the devil's music, which was doo-wop and R&B. Oh yeah, Daddy Marvin didn't like that too much. The secular music, oh, that was a sin. It insulted what he was trying to preach. So Marvin Jr. attended Syfax Elementary School, where he started singing in the school talent shows. And then later on, he went to Randall Junior High School. Now, around this time is when he started to get more serious about singing. So he joined the Glee Club, which, ain't nothing wrong with that. And when he started Cardozo High School, he really started to flourish. Like he joined several doo-wop vocal groups, including the Dippers and the DC Tones. See, they had simplistic names back then for groups. Like now, okay. But Daddy Marvin didn't like the fact that, young Marvin was out there singing this type of music. So he kicked Marvin out the house. And it was like on a consistent basis that he would do that. Whenever he got pissed at Marvin, he would kick him out. Like he did it a lot because Marvin refused to fold to what he wanted. In 1956, 17-year-old Marvin dropped out of high school and enlisted into the United States Air Force. And y'all, I don't know. Okay, he lost his virginity to a local prostitute. I don't know why I mentioned that, but I did. It was in there. I don't know. It was so fucking random. Like it literally was just like this random ass Marvin Gaye fact that was like, yeah, he went to the Air Force and lost his virginity to a prostitute. Nigga, what? But it was there. Just thought y'all should know. So, once he realized that he was only going to be doing manual labor and he wasn't actually going to be doing anything like honorable or working on airplanes, Marvin faked like he was mentally ill and got a general discharge so he could get out of the Air Force. That's some shit right there. And so, once he did that, he went right back to the music. Him and his boy Reese Palmer, they formed a quartet, the Marquis. Yes. And they performed locally in DC and they linked up with Bo Diddley. Now, Bo went to his label, Chess Records, and he was like, hey, we need to sign them. But Chess wasn't trying to hear it. So they ended up going to OK Records, which was a subsidiary of Columbia Records. And they did one single called Wyatt Earp, but it didn't chart. So the group ended up getting dropped from the label. And when that happened, Marvin decided that he was going to start composing music. And this ended up getting the attention of the artist Harvey Fuqua, who ended up hiring the group. So they changed their name to Harvey and the New Moon Glows, and Marvin moved to Chicago. But throughout all of this, y'all want to know what's really sad is that he was trying so hard to get his father's approval. But it was just like his father just made it his mission to make him feel like trash. And so after a while, Marvin was like, you know what? I can't do this no more. And he said goodbye to his father. And he distanced himself from his father's reputation and the rumors surrounding his father's private life. And he took his ass to Chicago. And while he was with the group, they recorded several songs for several groups. And Marvin started singing lead on a few of them. Y'all, they were singing for recording artists like Chuck Berry and many others, of course. And then in 1960, they decided to part ways. So Marvin stayed with Harvey and moved to Motown. And then from there, he signed with Tri-Fi Records as a session musician, playing drums on several of Tri-Fi's tracks. But his biggest success came on September 19th, 1960, when he signed with the one and only Berry Gordy. Oh, but here's the kicker. Marvin didn't want to be a soul singer. He wanted to be the next Frank Sinatra or Nat King Cole. Homie wanted to sing sophisticated jazz standards in a tuxedo. Like he saw himself on the stage, on the big stage with the tuxedo and crooning. He wasn't trying to sing no R&B. And Barry was like, nah, nigga, you gonna do some R&B. That's what you here for. You good for the R&B. But Marvin was persistent, so he kind of like dabbled in the different areas and different genres, such as jazz. And he decided that he was going to add the E to his last name to try to like separate himself from his father. So he tried singing blues, but didn't work. He tried jazz, but didn't work. And after a while, he realized, like, okay, you know what? R&B is clearly my gift. I'm just going to have to do it. And in May of 1961, he released his first studio album, The Soulful Moods of Marvin. Now, the Soulful Moods of Marvin Gaye didn't really do too good because it didn't really chart like that. So he had to go back and perform for other artists like he used to. So, he's back performing like, with the Miracles and the Marvelettes, the blues artist, Jimmy Reed. And I mean, he's making his money. He's making like $5 a week, which clearly in that time was a good amount of money. But the downside is when Marvin would get on the stage, bruh looked like he was asleep. Like it was hilarious. And it got to the point that Barry was seeing it and he was just like, bro, you good? Why you look like you sleep on the stage? And Marvin was like, yeah, I'm straight. And Barry's like, okay, maybe you should like take some grooming classes or something because, clearly you need to work on your stage presence. But Marvin was like, nah, I'm cool. And so he kept at it. And the whole time he's still writing hits for all of these artists. But it was in September of 1962 that he released his own solo hit, Stubborn Kind of Fellow. And it reached number 8 on the R&B charts. And then it also reached number 46 on the Billboard Hot 100. And so around this time, he's making a name for himself. So he joins the first Motown review and he goes to the Apollo Theater and he's performing with the other acts. And, he's starting to get some notice. Now, the following year, he hits the Billboard Pop Tart again. Not Pop Tart, I'm sorry, Pop Top charts again. This time he had a dance song called Hitchhike. And from there, like, he just literally just kept coming up with hits, hit after hit after hit. And his first charted album was one that he did with Mary Wells. They had a collaborative album back in 1964. It was called Together, and it reached number 42 on the Billboard 200. And it had like a back then they used to do double-sided features, so both sides had hits. Like the single side had songs like Once Upon a Time, What's the Matter with You, Baby. See, this is kind of stuff I grew up on. Like, these songs sound familiar to me. And then both sides ended up reaching the top 20 of the Billboard Hot 100. And, now Marvin is really getting popular. And he's so popular. Tell me why he ended up marrying Berry Gordy's sister, Anna. And they ended up buying a house that his brother-in-law actually used to own. And so he's on top of the world. He's married. He got this crib. He keeps releasing hits. He released several more hits like I'll Be Doggone. He wrote a song called Ain't That Peculiar that he was supposed to give to Smokey Robinson, but he ended up recording it for himself. And it was a bop. And I mean, he had a couple of songs that kind of flopped too. Like, it wasn't like every single song was hidden. When he had songs that flopped, he would just basically work with other artists so that way he could, stay busy. And one of the most notable songs that he did was with Kim Weston, It Takes Two. And then after that, oh, he really hit it big. He started collaborating with Tammy Terrell, and together, the two of them made so many hits. They made that song, Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Y'all remember that joint? Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't no valley low enough. Ain't no river wide enough to keep me from getting to you, babe. Oh, I love that song. I used to remember hearing that with my daddy. He also they had what was that song called? Your Precious Love, Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, You're All I Need to Get By. Yo, oh my God, I listen to You're All I Need like at least twice a week. Like I could hear just like sweet morning dew. I took one look at you and it was plain to see you are my destiny. With arms open wide, I threw away my pride. What y'all know about that, baby? Oh my God, you're all I need to get by. That was some real music, not this mumble shit that you hear these artists doing now. Anyway, sorry. I went into the time machine. Honey, them songs all reached the top 10 on the pop charts. So he ended up winning his first Grammy Award nomination in the category of Best Rhythm and Blues Group Performance. And it was also in vocal or instrumental category for Ain't No Mountain High Enough. Can y'all tell the era that I grew up in? Yes! So sadly, Tammy ended up having a brain tumor and she couldn't perform live anymore. But Marvin was right there for her. And then in 1968, Marvin made one of the biggest songs of his career. Don't you know that I heard it through the grapevine? And how much longer will you be mine? Honey, honey, I heard it through the grapevine. And I'm just about to lose my mind. I don't know. I may have got the words wrong, but y'all get what I'm saying. Baby, that thing hit number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100, and it stayed there for 7 consecutive weeks. That song sold more than 4 million copies. Remember, we are in the 60s. 4 million copies? Oh, he made buku amounts of money off of that. And got a Grammy Award nomination for Best Male R&B Vocal Performance. But he ended up losing it to Otis Redding because he had that sitting on the dock of the bay. Yeah. So he ended up losing to him. But, hey, a nomination is a nomination. You know what I'm saying? Amen. Sadly, his close friend Tammy Terrell died from brain cancer on March 16th, 1970. And of course, he attended the funeral, but, he started to kind of slip into a depression. And with his depression, he shied away from music for a while. And I found out he actually tried out for the NFL. Do y'all know this man went and asked to try out for the Detroit Lions? Yes, honey. That's a hell of a career change. Like, I mean, the Lions did the whole publicity stunt thing, but ultimately they wouldn't let him try out for real. They rejected it because, they didn't want to risk him injuring himself or anything that would have, ended his musical career. But as time goes on, things are progressing in the world. Marvin has moved him and his family to Hollywood. But shortly after they moved there, he and Anna end up separating. And so he got a one bedroom in Culver City, California. Now, around this time, Marvin's brother is coming home from Vietnam, and Marvin took that and fused it into a big hit. What's going on? And he was addressing, like, the societal issues of the world after he witnessed an act of police brutality at this anti war rally in Berkeley. And, with that, in addition to his brother, writing him these letters about the war and, talking about these horror stories and then coming home and dealing with it, everything that he was experiencing. And so when Barry heard the song, he was like, yeah, nah, this might be a bit too much for the fans, Marvin. We may need to keep this one in the chamber. Oh, Marvin wasn't having that shit. He was like, a word? Well, I guess I'm just not going to be releasing any more music until this song gets released. Like, he had Barry's back against the wall. And so he ended up releasing it, and from there, history was made. He ended up making an album with the same title, and that damn album had hit after hit. He was becoming a god. And then he got into a little bit of trouble. Now, despite him becoming just this singing sensation, he was terrible with money. Like, he owed millions to the IRS. And in the process, he developed a severe cocaine dependency that just exasperated his paranoia. Like, he was on that cocaine real bad. By 1981, it was so bad that Marvin was living in a bread van in Maui. His marriage to Anna had failed, and so to escape his debts and his demons, he fled to Europe and eventually settled in Ostend, Belgium. And it was in Belgium while he was like recovering and, jogging on cold beaches and trying to get himself together that he wrote his comeback hit, Sexual Healing. Mm. When I get that feeling, I want sexual healing. Woo! I know it was some babies made off of that, honey. But in 1973, Marvin released another album, the Let's Get It On album. Ooh, child, you taking me back right now. So the title track became Marvin's second number one single on the Hot 100 in September of 1973. When I tell you, y'all don't realize how many babies was made off of that song. You got Sexual Healing, Let's Get It On. Then he had other singles from that same album. Come Get to This and You Sure Love the Ball. I bet you they do love the ball. It got to the point that the radios didn't want to play his songs because they were too explicit. Woo, child, yes, they were. Like, and what song were they talking about in particular? Sexual Healing, child. We all know that song got years of play. Shoot, it still does. What you talking about? He won 2 Grammys off of that song alone. And because of that, he was able to move his parents to Los Angeles, which was a big flex for him. So a year later, he and Anna got officially divorced, and he began dating this woman by the name of Janice Hunter, who was the daughter of Slim Gaillard, a jazz singer. And so together, the two of them had 2 children, Frankie and Nona. Oh, he named his son after his brother. That is so cute. Now, he ended up adopting his first wife's niece's son. Ooh, that's confusing as fuck. But he adopted him and named him Marvin the Third. And so, at this point, he's doing well. He and Janice, they're living together for a while before they ended up getting married in 1977. But the marriage didn't last that long because the two of them separated in 1979 and then they divorced a few years later. Now, his song Sexual Healing made him a lot of money, and he had moved to a 21-room villa just outside of Austin and lived there for a while recording. Eventually, though, he ended up moving back to the United States because, again, he do owe some money to the IRS. He owe a lot of money and he on that cocaine still. And so in 1983, he rented a mansion in Sherman Oaks. However, he got in bed and started having more drug issues. And he was into it like real heavy. And he started, but, due to his increasing debt and drug issues, he had to go move back in with his parents. Now, the house that he had bought his parents was in West Adams, Los Angeles. And during this time, Marvin was still dealing with depression and paranoia. He told his bodyguard that he was being targeted and wanted to make sure that he was protected. So he went out and bought a handgun and told his bodyguard, make sure that my father has this. Even though he and his father were beefing, he still felt like he was a target with all of this paranoia and whatnot. And so he bought this man a specialized 38 caliber handgun that he thought would keep him safe. And this is where I'm starting to think,
No, you done fucked up, right? No. You know you done fucked up, right?
I know, usually I don't say that about the victim, but yeah, this was a no for me. Like, especially knowing how short-tempered his father is, putting a weapon in his hand, your father's hand, that man was psychologically questionable. But I guess Marvin felt like he needed it. The drugs had such a powerful hold on him. So maybe that was what possessed him to do it. But his father wouldn't let him forget it either, though. Now that he's back living with his parents, it was becoming harder for Marvin to function. He had to deal with his father's constant criticism and ridicule. The two of them had to be on opposite sides of the house. It was getting so bad. If the two of them were in the same vicinity, it was like World War III. And all the while this is going on, Marvin's still feeding his addiction. Until one day, Marvin decided to step in between his father and mother for what would be the last time. It's March 31st, 1984, and Marvin is at the house. His parents are at the other end of the house, and Marvin Sr. is attacking Alberta. He's yelling at her, chastising her, belittling her, calling her everything but a child of God. And when Marvin heard what was happening, he went to his mother's rescue. When he got there, he and his father, they start arguing and he's telling him like, yo, you gonna chill out on my mama, in not so many words. And it didn't necessarily get physical, but Marvin Sr., he pissed off because how the fuck you gonna check me and I'm your daddy? And Marvin just kept telling his pops, like, just look, you need to leave, you gotta go. And so, Marvin Sr., he leaves. He leaves the house for a little bit to cool off. He's been humiliated by his son, all of that. How you gonna be my child and you telling me to get the fuck out of the house? He's angry. And so the next day, April 1st, tensions are still high. Once again, Marvin Sr. is going off on Alberta. Oh, you worthless this, you trifling that, you raggedy this, blah, 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 blah. And this time Marvin comes in and he tells his father once again, look, you need to go. But this time his father wasn't trying to hear it. He said, yo, who you think you talking to? This is my house. And Marvin quickly reminded him, yeah, this may be your house, but it's the house I paid for. Whoop. Not testing the ego. And so they going back and forth, and it's getting heated. And finally, Marvin Jr. had enough. He attacked his daddy and began throwing blows, honey. His father was caught off guard at first, but he started fighting his son back. And all of the years of just anger and like Marvin laid on his daddy. And then his daddy pulled a dirty dog trick. The very same 38 caliber handgun that he gave his father used against him. He grabbed that handgun and shot Marvin twice, once in the chest, piercing his heart, and then into his shoulder. And so Marvin lay on the floor in a pool of blood while his mother watched in horror and his father watched in happiness. An ambulance was called and he was taken to the California Hospital Medical Center where he was pronounced dead at 1:01 p.m. Y'all, he died one day before his 45th birthday. The news of his death just sent shockwaves throughout the city as one of the legendary Motown artists was taken. The autopsy revealed that Marvin had significant amounts of cocaine in his system, reinforcing the narrative that, his final months were a descent into darkness, basically. Marvin had a ceremony to celebrate his life on April 5th, 1984. Over 10,000 people attended his wake to pay respect. And his funeral was held on April 8th. And, of course, so many people attended that to pay their respects as well. Smokey Robinson came, Stevie Wonder, Dick Gregory. Stevie Wonder ended up performing Lighten Up the Candles, which was this ballad that he wrote just for Marvin. I think they ended up putting it on the Jungle Fever soundtrack. And after Marvin's funeral, his body was cremated at Forest Lawn Memorial Park, Hollywood Hills, and his ashes were scattered into the Pacific Ocean. Now, his father was arrested and charged with first-degree murder, but the charges were reduced to voluntary manslaughter following a diagnosis of a brain tumor. Now, here's the messed up part. He was given a suspended 6-year sentence and probation. So essentially, he got away with everything. A year after his death, then Mayor of D.C. Marion Barry declared April 2nd as Marvin Gaye Jr. Memorial Scholarship Fund Day, which was in their city. And since then, a nonprofit organization has helped to organize annual Marvin Gaye Day celebrations in the city of Washington every year. Now, a few years after his passing in 1987, Marvin Gaye was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame due to his huge contribution to soul music in general and the Motown sound in particular. The page stated that Marvin possessed a classic R&B voice that was edged with grit, yet tempered with sweetness, and that he projected an air of soulful authority driven by fervent conviction and heartbreaking vulnerability. Facts. Marvin's mother founded the Marvin P. Gaye Jr. Memorial Foundation in dedication to her son to help those suffering from drug abuse and alcoholism. However, she died a day before the memorial was set to open in 1987. Ooh, that's so sad. His father's punk ass went into a nursing home shortly after because no one really wanted to take care of his raggedy ass, rightfully so. So his sister Jean served as the chairperson of the foundation for a while. And in 1988, a year after his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame induction, Marvin was inducted into the NAACP Hall of Fame as well. And in 1990, he received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. In 1996, he received the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame listed 3 of his records, I Heard It Through the Grapevine, What's Going On, and Sexual Healing, among its list of the 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. American Music Magazine, Rolling Stone ranked Marvin Gaye number 18 on their list of the 100 greatest artists of all time. He was 6th on their list of 100 greatest singers of all time and number 82 on their list of the 100 greatest songwriters of all time. Q magazine ranked him 6th on their list of the 100 greatest singers. Like, he had so many honors and awards and recognition after he passed. Like, it's so sad he couldn't be honored when he was here on earth because of the selfishness and hatred of his father. Oh, speaking of, in 1998, his father, Marvin Sr., passed away in the nursing home, never having expressed public remorse for his act. Bastard. In 2008, Marvin's estate earned $3.5 million, and as a result, Marvin was placed number 13 in the Forbes magazine's top earning dead celebrities. Wait, why the fuck is this a thing? Oh my God, that is so crass. Ugh. His name came back up in later years when the family of Marvin hit Pharrell and Robin Thicke with a lawsuit for copyright infringement on his song Gotta Give It Up. They used the song on their hit Blurred Lines. Y'all remember that joint? I need these blurred lines. I know you want it. Like half the song I couldn't understand what the hell he was saying. But yeah. On March 11th, 2015, Marvin's family was awarded $7.4 million in damages following a decision by an 8-member jury in Los Angeles that Robin Thicke and Pharrell Williams had breached copyright by incorporating that song. And so the U.S. District Judge John Kronstadt reduced the sum later that year to like 5.3 million, but they also added some royalties. And in January of 2016, the Gaye family requested that a California judge award an additional 2.66 mil in attorney fees and 777,000 in legal expenses, which was granted. Ha ha. So, since then, there have been several attempts to adapt Marvin's life story into like a film. I remember in February of 2006, Jesse Martin was supposed to play Marvin in the biopic titled Sexual Healing. And it was supposed to have been directed by Lauren Goodman and produced by James Gandolfini. And it was like supposed to focus on like the last 3 years of his life, but for whatever reason, it never came to fruition. And then most recently, Dr. Dre was supposed to have, put his hands in it, and Tyrese was supposed to play the role. Like, I remember Tyrese was like really bodying it and really getting into the character, but I guess it's like at a standstill as of right now. One thing I can say is that Marvin was a man of contradictions. He was a shy boy who became a sex symbol. He was a gospel singer who redefined secular desire. He was a pacifist who lived a life that was defined by internal and external violence. And the tragedy of Marvin Gaye is that he never truly escaped that house in DC. The power struggle between father and son, which began over unwashed dishes and missed choir practice, it would simmer for decades until that final fatal afternoon. But never forget, the soul in his voice wasn't just talent. It was the sound of a man still trying to sing his way out of his father's shadow. Marvin once said, I hope the day will come when we can love as easily as we can hope. He spent 44 years trying to find that ease. The music world didn't just mourn a hit maker, they mourned a philosopher who had tried to heal the world while his own home was on fire. He died as he lived, caught in the middle of a conflict he didn't start, trying to protect the woman he loved. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story of Marvin Gaye Jr. And now it is time for Fair or Foul, where we look at the justice system to determine if the sentencing that was given was indeed fair, or if it was just some bullshit that's going to have us sitting back saying, what the fuck? Okay, so this man was charged with murder, and then they dropped it to manslaughter, and then gave him a suspended sentence of 6 years and put his ass on probation. What the entire fuck? Listen, all right, he got a brain tumor. I don't give a fuck if this man had 2 days left on this earth. At the end of the day, he tortured his son for years. 44 years to be exact. There is so much psychological damage to a person, let alone a child that you've done. Because of his own demons that he was dealing with, he took it out on his wife and kids. That's yet another example of a shitty ass father. Like that's just like what Freddie Trone. He was a shitty ass father, and here goes Marvin's dad being just as shitty. Your son had a gift, and you tried to minimize when your son could use his gift. It was okay when he was singing in the church, but when he made a name for himself, that was a problem. It wasn't a problem when you were living in that 21-room house that he paid for. It wasn't a problem when you were spending his money. You were grateful to get the gun and you took the gun. You obviously didn't have a problem taking from him, but yet you wanted to torture him. You wanted to make him feel like shit. You wanted to make yourself feel like a big man. And in the process, you killed your own son. For what? What was the purpose of that? What was the reason? What's the matter? His light was brighter than yours. He was shining better than you were. Did the widow man feel like his pride was hurt? Because that's exactly what it looks like. It looks like you were jealous of your own son. You were jealous of the fact that he made something of himself. Parents are supposed to encourage their children to do better. Parents are supposed to push their kids to be better than what they were. But instead, you had so much anger and hatred toward your family that you ended up killing your own son. Like, I can't get past that shit, dude. You are trash as fuck for that. And the fact that you didn't get any time at all bugs the hell out of me. Like, your ass should have been in prison. But they took pity on you. Why? I don't understand. Because you had a fucking brain tumor. Die, motherfucker. Because your ass sat in a nursing home for several years after you killed your son, and you showed no remorse. So clearly that tumor didn't mean shit. That's the shit that pisses me off the most. You had no remorse for what you did. And the fact that they just let you sit back on that, it makes no sense to me. You should have been under the jail. Your ass needed that $42 cocktail on some real shit, like desperately. I hope that you're somewhere in hell rotten for what you did. Trifling ass. That is all for this week's episode of the Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast. You can follow the show on the various streams on Instagram and TikTok at Infamous One Podcast. That's a number one, by the way, not spelled out, and you can leave a review there. On X, it's Infamous One Pod, where you can also leave a review. On Facebook, you can join the private discussion group, the Infamous Ones discussion group, but please be advised, if you don't answer the questions, you ain't getting in. It's just that simple. But once you get in, let's chop it up because we talk about everything up in there. Come on in, sit down, take a seat, tell us where you're from and what you're sipping on. The show streams on multiple streaming services like Odyssey, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and so on and so on. So leave a review. It only takes a few seconds and the reviews matter. Like I said, I'm trying to get my Apple reviews up. So let's make it happen, Captain. Okay? Now let's get into a few of those. The first review comes from Apple Podcast, and it's a 5-star review captioned, "Okay," from Geneva. It says, "I discovered your podcast last year from Melanin Mysteries podcast. I love the way you tell the stories, the fair or foul at the end. You eat them up like they deserve, plus that, okay, when talking gets me every time." Thank you, Geneva Boo. I definitely appreciate that. Okay. Keep listening, Mama. I appreciate you for rocking with your girl. The next review comes from Spotify from Misha, and it's on the Fred Lane Jr. episode. It says, "I love this podcast. Fair or foul is my favorite part of the episodes. You be going off. Also, don't compare yourself to others. Your podcast is good. Just give it time. I would love to see you do Zooms." Thank you, Misha Boo. I appreciate it. I am thinking about that, but I need to figure out like in what capacity because researching these episodes is a lot and recording and all of that. But I do know I will have a live in the Facebook group on May 24th, so stay tuned. Remember to support the Black Box. Y'all know that I just drop episodes whenever, no real time frame. You never know as to when that's gonna happen. I just recently released an episode, so make sure you catch up on the Black Box, and another one is coming soon. There are more episodes for the celebrities who were gone too soon series. Like I said, we still got 3 more. You've got Sam Cooke, you've got Thomas Bird, and you've got Deirdre Gobert as bonus episodes. So stay tuned for those. And then it's back to the regular scheduled program. Oh, the Infamous Ones Murder Mystery Virtual Contest has officially begun. Each week, I'm going to post a clue in the Facebook group via video. Now, you're going to see the clue in the group only and get an opportunity to win the prize. Now, what the prize is, you're going to have to play to find out. But on May 24th, there will be a live show via the Facebook group where the winner will be announced. So it's not like a in person, but it's going to be via Facebook Live in the group. Now, there's going to be a winner for the month of May, June, July, August, and September. So that's 5 winners. And then on October 10th, there will be a live show in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, that show, each of the winners from the prior contest will be entered for a chance to win a $250 prize, cash. And for those in attendance of the show that did not win the prizes from the prior month, there will be a second raffle for $100 cash. So that'll be at the live show in Atlanta, Georgia, October 10th, 2026. The details on the location will be coming soon. Tickets will be available on Eventbrite starting July 1st. So hopefully you guys come out because by then everybody will be, kind of slowing down a bit. I know Sisters Who Kill has their tour, so I ain't even try to do nothing right now. Okay. But the virtual murder mystery night is officially here. So stay tuned for the clues. Ad space is still available if you would like to have your business mentioned on any episode. I'm still running ad specials for $30. You can inbox me or reach out to me via Facebook. If you want to support the show or if you're feeling the spirit, meaning that liquor that y'all been sipping on or that Pellegrino that I've been sipping on, click the link at the bottom of the screen from whatever app you're listening to this episode on and hit listener support to give. You can also donate via the Cash App to $infamous1pod. That's $INFAMOUSONEPOD. The donations go toward court documentations, interviews, JPay, all of that. Now, if you have a case that you want to hear more on, that you feel has been ignored in the Black community, if you want to inquire about ad space or want to leave a review, send an email to infamousonepod@gmail.com. That's INFAMOUSONEPOD@gmail.com. And once again, people, please share. I've been doing this podcast for almost 3 years now. Y'all know every time y'all share, that means the world to me. I'm trying to get these reviews up. So let's do the damn thing, okay? Until then, y'all know what it is. I'm your girl Kay. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see y'all in just a few with another bonus episode. Stay mobbing, y'all. Peace.
Thank you for listening to this episode of The Infamous Ones, a true crime podcast hosted by Kay. Be sure to like and comment on your favorite podcast platform and subscribe so that you never miss an episode.